Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year, Senator.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Hey,
Mhm.
good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. We are going to go live shortly, okay? Thank you for your patience. We'll be communicating to each to let you know the turns and to speak, okay? Thank you. Good evening and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us this evening on behalf of the Office of Congressman Adriano Espaillat, alongside Community Board 12, many of our legal organizations, as well as our community elected officials. Tonight, we will begin the procession with the United States Representative, the Honorable Adriano Espaillat.
Thank you. Thank you, Luis. And thank you all for being on this call. Good evening. I'm Congressman Espaillat. I want to welcome all viewers to tonight's virtual Immigration Know Your Rights Forum. For those of you who are just tuning in, we're streaming live on Facebook, X, and YouTube at Rep Espaillat, one word, on these platforms. Share your comments in the chat section to have your questions answered during today's live session. We have witnessed a barrage of targeted attacks against immigrants and non-immigrant communities during the first week of this new administration. And it is more important now than ever that individuals know their rights to protect themselves and their families. Tonight's program is part of a series of Know Your Rights events that I've led in light of the new administration's onslaught. Our next in-person forum will be held in person this Friday at Incarnation Church on 175th Street in St. Nicholas Avenue. We will have another one at Our Lady Queen of Angels Church in Sedgwick Avenue in the Bronx on Sunday at 2 p.m. And on Monday, we'll have an East Harlem session on, as well as this one on Zoom with folks from those communities. I am deeply appreciative to each of you and the dedicated work that you guys have done, particularly the city and state electeds who have joined me in some of these forums. We are in uncharted waters. As you may have read in the news, ICE was present yesterday in the Bronx part of the district and in the Washington Heights part of the district. And we are incredibly grateful for the immigration advocates that have played a pivotal role in bringing resources and help to immigrants and their families. In addition to that, as chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, I want you to know that we have a nationwide approach to this crisis where we're pushing a narrative of three pivotal points regarding the immigration debate, and we call them the Cabrini Blueprint, in the name of Mother Cabrini, who was the first U.S.-born U.S. saint and the spiritual leader of immigrants. Those three important points are regularizing dreamers, protecting farm workers, and keeping families together. So we will continue to speak about these three important issues of the very diverse and complicated immigration debate. And we'll push back and try to reestablish our footing on this issue as we continue to move forward. We will be listening to some of our electeds and some of the service providers. We have with us Senator Claudel Clear is with us today. I believe that the Senator Robert Jackson is also with us today, and Assembly members Manny De Los Santos and Al Taylor, as well as council members Carmen De La Rosa and Shona Brea. We also have Board President Mark Levine as part of this team effort. So I want to thank you all for being part of this. And now I want to go to the next person on the program as we move forward. I also want to thank Community Board 12 for being part of this, Cabrini Immigrant Services, the Truman National Security Project, CUNY's Citizenship Now. They've done a tremendous job, the Legal Aid Society, Immigrants ARC, and the New York City Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. They have all been very, very supportive as we face this major crisis. So thank you, Luis Adames, who's here. He's part of my team. He provides immigration services, as well as Maritza Sanchez and a host of my team, my staff. They've been trained recently, the entire staff, on basic immigration services, because we have seen an uptick, a tremendous uptick of constituents coming into our offices. We're also very concerned about the level of fear out there. I know that the community is very fearful right now. I asked the public to be prudent. I know we've gotten also a significant numbers of false alarms on raids, and that seems to be problematic because it makes fear go really wild out there. So we are asking folks, and I've been asking the media in particular, to taper down and to report what really has happened. What I've seen so far, at least yesterday in my district, is very targeted operations on individuals that have been arrested and potentially will be deported. I haven't seen in the district the sort of massive deportation effort that was threatened by the new administration, but we are on high alert and we're diligently monitoring every day to ensure that our community is serviced and that people's rights are protected. So with that, I thank you. And with that, let me bring on some of the electeds, starting with Senator Claudel Clear, to say a couple of words. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman Espaillat. I want to thank you for hosting this very important event at such a critical time. And I thank you for inviting me to be a part of it. I don't want to speak long. I share your concerns and concerns for our New Yorkers, as well as some of our not so New Yorkers. And I just want to learn. I have some of my staff here. We are interested in the trainings that you received. I want people to know where my office is. We are here for you if you have any concerns. I'm at the Adam Clayton Powell State Office Building, which is located at 163 West 125th Street. 912 is my room number. If there's an ID issue, my staff will come downstairs to get you. Our phone number is 212-222-7315 if anybody wants to reach out for us. And once again, I want to thank you, Congressman, for putting this together at this critical time. Thank you.
I just want to highlight also the fact that we have put together a pocket-sized Know Your Rights card, which basically explains what are some of the rights that immigrants have. For example, you don't have to open the door to an ICE agent unless they have a search warrant that's signed by a judge and that it has your name. A deportation notice or warrant is not a search warrant. So there are certain fundamental rights and phone numbers that some of our participants will share with you as we move with the program. With that, I'm going to leave you with Luis Adames, who, as I said before, handles all the immigration cases in my office and has been doing a fantastic job. And he is ready for this crisis. He has prepared for it, and my office is ready and willing to help immigrants from across the district and beyond. So, Luis, take it over, please.
Hi, thank you, sir. I appreciate the kind words. And next speaker will be New York City Councilwoman Carmen de la Rosa.
Thank you so much, Luis, for hosting us, and to the congressman. As always, we want to thank him for his leadership, his courage to speak up for our communities, not only as our congressman representing the district, but also as the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I want to thank all of my colleagues and all of the organizations that are frontline organizations that are here as well. It's going to take all of us together to protect our communities. And this is not a new narrative. We know that we are the ones that have to look out for those most vulnerable among us. And as the congressman said, I know there's a lot of fear right now in our communities, and that fear is justifiable given the change in administration and given what we saw in the last Trump administration and what we're now seeing as this administration rolls out. First of all, I want to say that we are working in a coalition here. You see our federal representatives, our state representative, and our local representatives working together to make sure, one, that our community knows your rights. That's the first way that we're going to battle any misinformation that is happening on the street. And fear is by knowing our rights, and that is what this training is for. And second of all, our offices are all hubs for resources. They're safe spaces where our community can come in, ask questions, and get clarity. We always say, before you go and seek advice from people that can be predatory to our community, please walk into your council member, your assembly member, your senator, your congressman's office, because we can point you in the right direction of the organizations you will hear from today that are experts in the field and that know best how to protect our communities. As a city council member, I am proud that New York City continues to be a sanctuary city. We continue to have sanctuary laws that protect us, and there are protections in places of worship, schools, and hospitals. We will continue to be vigilant on ensuring that sanctuary laws are not watered down at the city level. And again, as I said, making sure that our nonprofit organizations that are here, the frontline workers in this crisis, are fully funded and able to carry out the work that is so important for our community. So on my end, taking the lead from Senator Cordell Clear, my friend, I want to just invite all of you to see our office as a resource. We are located in Washington Heights at 618 West 177th Street. I see CUNY Citizenship Now is in the house as well. We actually host CUNY Citizenship Now in our offices. And so I invite you to walk in or call and make an appointment. Our office number is 917-521-2616. And rest assured that this won't be the only Know Your Rights forum. We will continue to work with the congressmen and all of the elected officials to continue to make sure that our community knows their rights. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much, Councilmember De La Rosa. And next to speak will be New York State Assembly, Manny de los Santos.
Thank you, Luis. I want to take this moment to commend our congressman for hosting us today, but also to highlight that this is the second Know Your Rights session in less than 8 days. So I want to again thank you, Congressman, for your leadership and for getting us together. We know that this is just the beginning or what's to come. But as I said last week, you know, it's unfortunate. This moment was made for the congressman. The Hispanic Congressional Caucus, chose correctly by electing you to be their chair of these important congressional caucus, because we're facing time that are only give us satisfaction when you have the leadership, when you have the experience, and you are documented at one point, you were an immigrant. So they could not have chosen a better leader to lead us to this difficult time. Although it's unfortunate, I know we're gonna come back stronger. So as I said before, our communities throughout the state of New York, in New York City, we're not scared. We're not scared. We've been here before, and this experience that is very unfortunate is gonna make us stronger. My office is available. My staff is available as well. If any of the organizations or constituent need support, I'm located at 210 Sherman Avenue, right on the corner of 207. My office numbers is 212-544-2278, 212-544-2278. I also want to thank my colleague in government, the city council member, the assembly folks, is any here, but the senator and the rest of the organization and community leader and activists for coming together. This is what we do when we're being attacked and our communities are being attacked. So again, thank you, Congressman, for all your help, for your vision, and your endless leadership.
Thank you very much, Assemblyman Santos. Next to speak, we have Council Member Sean Abreu.
Hello, hello. Good evening, everybody. I'm Councilmember Sean Abreu. I just want you to all to know that your elected officials, we're standing with you. I want to thank our Congress member, the chairman of the Hispanic Caucus, all the way from Congress down to the City Council. We're here to represent you. I want to be very brief. I know that this is a moment where we're all very scared and you have reason to be, but you have very strong leaders with you who are going to be there. And I just want you to know that we're going to be there. Our office is on 141st and Amsterdam. You may call us at 212-928-6814. We're ready to serve you. Brevemente en español, le quiero dar las gracias al congresista Adriano Espaillat por tener este evento tan importante. Nuestra oficina está ubicado en la calle la 141 y Amsterdam. Cualquier problema que tenga, venga a nuestra oficina. El número de nuestra oficina es el 212-928-6814. Estamos a su servicio y espero aprender mucho de estos entrenamientos. Gracias.
Next to speak, we have the Manhattan Borough President, Mark Levine.
Thank you so much. I want to thank Congressman Adriano Espaillat for leading on immigration and so much more for us in Washington, standing up to fight at a moment when we need it. These are challenging times where we have a president who's intent on sowing fear and panic in our beloved immigrant communities. And I'm afraid I'm already sensing that fear is spreading. But we want people to know that you have government leaders who have your back, that you have leaders like Congressmember Espaillat and my great colleagues on this call, and that you have rights, no matter your immigration status. So today's about making sure you know what resources are available. Brevemente en español, mi nombre es Mark Levine. Yo soy presidente del condado de Manhattan. Quiero agradecerle al congresista Adriano Espaillat, que ha sido un líder ahora mismo cuando más hace falta, protegiendo a nuestros inmigrantes, denunciando a la agenda del presidente que es súper anti-inmigrante. Sé que ahora con estas políticas muchos tienen miedo de lo que está pasando. Y es importante que ustedes sepan, es imprescindible que ustedes sepan que tienen derechos y que tienen respaldo de muchos oficiales electos, inclusive mi persona. Así que una vez más, le agradezco al congresista por haber invitado a mi persona y a tanta gente a esta importante reunión. Cuenten conmigo, vengo aquí como amigo y aliado. Muchas gracias.
Gracias to Mark Levine, the Manhattan Borough President. And just want to give a few more introductions. We have here a panel of amazing experts here to inform the community and assist as much as possible. I'd like to just first do introductions before we get into speaking. The first introduction would be Miss Sharon Toussaint. Sharon?
Hi. Good evening. How are you? Louis? Louis, I have to say thank you so much for allowing us to present to the community. There's so much misinformation out there, and you know, presentations like this allows us to actually let our community know what is going out there. I don't know, did you want me to start with my section?
No, just wanted to do an
Okay.
introduction. Thank you very much. We next have as well joining us from Immigrant Arc, Melissa Machuca.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Luis, again for setting this up. My name is Melissa Machuca. I'm the Legal Programs Associate at Immigrant Arc. We are a nonprofit organization with many partners of nonprofits, also pro bono attorneys and private attorneys. En breve, mi nombre es Melissa, soy el asistente legal aquí en Arco Inmigrante y nosotros somos una organización de varias organizaciones que ayudan a los inmigrantes, sea ayuda legal completamente gratis o también abogados privados. Y mucho gusto estar aquí, presentar hoy.
Thank you, Melissa. And another elected we would love to have speak is Assemblyman Al Taylor.
Hey, thank you so much, Luis. Congressman, thank you so much for bringing this together. These are critical and crucial times right now. And I would say to folks, my office, like my colleagues, we're all one when it comes to this battle we are fighting collectively. My office is located at 2541-55 7th Avenue. The number is 212-234-1430, 212-234-1430. I look forward to learning a lot that's taking place here tonight. We want to be informed, but certainly just off the top of my head, I would say don't open your doors, making sure that you're safe and you know who's coming in behind you and who's leaving. But together we'll get through this. And again, Congressman, thank you so much for bringing this critical conversation to the table at this time. Thank you. Thank you, Luis.
And thank you for joining us. We understand all of the electeds have a very busy schedule and we appreciate you making time to join this call today. Next, I'd also like to do an introduction for Derek Gomez from the New York City Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs.
Good afternoon. Buenas tardes. My name is Derek Gomez. I'm the Associate Director of Programs at the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs. Really happy to be here with so many strong, powerful elected officials that are speaking up, as well as our advocate community that is on the ground doing the work. So the role of MOIA, or the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, is to provide resources to immigrant communities and ensure that folks are well informed on current federal, state, and city law. And we understand that we're in a moment of change, but we really want to make sure that folks know what their rights are and how they can protect themselves and their families.
Thank you very much. Next, we will also hear words from Amelia Scoides from Cabrini Immigrant Services of New York City.
Hey there, thank you so much. My name is Amelia Sidoris. I run the Justice for Immigrants program at Cabrini Immigrant Services. We are an immigration law office in Washington Heights. We offer legal and social services as well as a food pantry and our Justice for Immigrants program. Now in Spanish, hola a todos, ¿cómo están? Mi nombre es Emilia y soy la encargada del programa Justicia para Inmigrantes en Cabrini Immigrant Services. Somos una oficina que ofrece servicios legales, sociales, una despensa de comida y un programa que se llama Justicia para Inmigrantes. Y muchas gracias por estar aquí. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amelia. Next, we have Nils Kinwani from African Communities Together.
Hey, hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Luis, for this initiative, and thank you, Congressman Espaillat, for your leadership. And we do appreciate all your efforts. My name is Nels Kinwani. I am the Federal Policy Manager for African Communities Together. We are based in Harlem, New York, and we do work with African immigrants, and working with them to empower them to engage civically, to integrate socially, and advance economically. And I look forward to the discussion this evening. Thank you again.
Thank you very much for joining us all the way from DC. And now to start the event procession, Miss Nicole Johnson from the Legal Aid Society.
Thank you, Luis. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Luis, for inviting us. Thank you to the Congressman for putting this event together, and to all the other elected officials for supporting the community. As Luis mentioned, my name is Nicole Johnson. I am the Deputy Director of Immigration Law Unit at the Legal Aid Society. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the Legal Aid Society, it is the oldest and largest nonprofit legal services organization in the country, and we are dedicated to protecting the rights of all New Yorkers, no matter your status, right? Making sure that people's rights are protected. Luis, sorry, really quickly, did you want me to do my whole thing now and then do part of it in this part in Spanish, do it in Spanish after?
Yes, please.
Okay. So, so we are going to talk, or I'm going to talk to you about, as we are all hearing, we're all seeing, this new administration has really, taken to mass raids or mass deportation, and really made that a priority in their administration. As I believe one of the officials mentioned, in the last, it's only been 2 weeks. It feels like it's been way longer than that. We've heard several reports of different raids, and we at Legal Aid are still, on the ground learning about what's going on, so that we can inform and give protect New Yorkers' rights, but also inform you of your rights so that you can be better prepared in these situations. So we're going to talk today about the raids and the tension. I don't know, Luis, if you want me to share my screen so that I can, the slides. Okay. Do I have, there we go. I cannot share. It says it's disabled.
We'll have our comms person work on that. You can continue with the presentation in a moment.
Okay, no problem. So essentially, where can ICE, we always talk about ICE everywhere, where can they actually detain you? So they can find you and detain you, at the point where you enter the United States, whether that's at the northern border of Canada or the southern border of Mexico. If you enter through an airport, and CBP officers are asking you questions about your status, about your right to enter the United States. They can detain you at any of those at that point. If you have an ICE check-in, if you are required to go at any interval to speak with ICE, let's say you have an ankle monitor, or you for some reason have a regular check-in with ICE, if they believe that you are now a priority, they can detain you. You can also be detained at your immigration court hearing, again, only if ICE considers you a detention priority. If you have a criminal history and ICE learns about your criminal history, let's say there was an arrest, you've been fingerprinted, even if you have already, the case has already been dealt with, has been dismissed, but you do have a criminal history, they can detain you. And it doesn't matter if you are still incarcerated by local law enforcement or not, like ICE can take you into their custody. And then lastly, as we're seeing, they can conduct workplace raids or other places in the community. We've seen ICE stops at various locations and heard about them going to different areas. So they can, really detain you, find you and detain you at any of these places. So will you be immediately deported? I know there's a lot of questions about what happens if you get detained by ICE. So if you get detained by ICE and you are already in immigration court proceedings, meaning you have a hearing, you have gone to a hearing, or maybe you have a hearing scheduled, you might have already filed an application, but you have, you are scheduled to see a judge on your immigration case, they will have to start a case. Well, they would have to, sorry, if you've not started a case in immigration court, so you don't have a case, they would have to start the case at that point. So they would detain you and they would file what's called a notice to appear with the immigration court. And that notice to appear basically begins your immigration court proceedings. If you are detained at that moment, then your proceedings will happen while you are detained. So you will see a judge inside of the detention center, either in person, and some of the detention centers, they're via televideo. If you were already in immigration court and maybe you had different hearings, right? You had to go at different times to go and see the immigration judge. Once you are detained, they just transfer your case to what is called the detained docket. So again, similar as I was saying, if you were not in removal proceedings or in immigration court, they would put your case in the detained docket. So you would see a judge from within detention. The difference between the detained docket and the non-detained docket is just that the detained docket does go at a fairly quick pace. So cases are generally, go to trial within 5 weeks, 6 weeks, but much quicker than you would see if you were not detained. If you already have a final order, so you have gone to see a judge, or maybe you never went to go see a judge and you were supposed to, and you are detained, but you still fear returning to your home country. Maybe you always feared, maybe you just entered, or maybe something has happened since you entered the United States such that you are fearful of returning to your home. You're fearful that maybe you'll be tortured, maybe you'll be harmed by some individual. If this is the case, it is really important that you let an ICE officer know as quickly as possible that you are fearful and you want to request asylum because you are fearful of returning to your country. You must make affirmative and say this to the officer. So that is really important because that will the only way to protect your right to asylum or to apply for asylum. ICE, because it is federal jurisdiction, you can be detained anywhere. So they do not have to detain you anywhere close to where you live. They don't have to detain you close to where you might have a lawyer. They don't have to detain you close to where your family is. Oftentimes, it's really just about where they have bed space available. In New York, generally speaking, they detain people upstate in Orange County Jail in the Hudson Valley. They also detain them generally in Moshannon Valley Processing Center, which is located in Western Pennsylvania. Most of New Yorkers are detained there. However, I will say under this new administration, there have been sort of rumblings that there will be opening new detention centers. We have no information about that, and so we don't know where those places might be, but it is important to know that just because you live in New York does not mean that you will be detained here. If somebody you love or one of your loved ones, somebody you know, is detained, you are able to locate them. So I will put it, I guess, in the chat for now, but there is if I can put it in the chat, an ICE locator. Let's see, Louis, sorry, I can't.
Hi, Nicole, just want to let you know you do have sharing abilities now. You should be able to project your screen.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you. Let's see. 1 second, apologies. I can't find technology. My apologies, guys. Presentation. Now sharing. You would think after 5 years of this, I would be better at it. Okay. Can you see my screen? Yes. Okay. So if somebody that you love is detained by ICE, you can locate them. It does take, I would give it 24 hours because they're not often put in the system immediately. And sometimes it does take time to process and get them into the system. But once they are in the system, like I said, give it a day or two. You would just go to ice.gov/locator, enter their name and their country of birth or their alien registration number, which is the number on all immigration documents. It starts with an A and it has 9 numbers after that. They on that website, they should be able to let you know where your loved one is detained. So what happens if you're detained? You do have rights, right? The whole point of this town hall is just to let people know what are your rights. So the first one that is really important is for you guys to remember that you do have the right to remain silent. It is your right. You do not have to answer any questions. You don't have to open any, you don't have to let them into any place. I mean, unless they have a judicial warrant, which they don't always have. So it's really important to look for that judicial warrant. But if they don't, you don't have to sign anything. You're not required to sign anything, even if he says that you do, or the officer says you must sign this, you do not. If you're stopped outside of your home, it is really important. You can ask them, are you free to leave? Because if you are not under arrest and they say, yes, you are free to leave, then you can end that interaction with ICE at that moment and leave calmly and enter your home. You do not have to let them into your home again unless they have a judicial warrant. I think we just talked about these. I know I want to be mindful of time because there's a lot of people. Please don't carry any false documents and try not to carry documents from your home country or any other foreign country. If you have applications, if you have any applications pending, let's say if you have status, if you have TPS, if you have a green card, you're a green card holder, carry copies, carry your green card if you must, but I would prefer carry copies so that you don't lose your green card. Let's see, what else is important? Planning for your children. In the event that you are detained or deported, it's really important to make plans, right, for your children. We don't know what can happen. We don't know if ICE is what they'll do. So making these plans in advance, just so that you have the kind of, the understanding that your child will be prepared in the situation. So first thing, making sure you get a passport for your child. Are there certain documents, right? Who would be the emergency contact for your child? Making sure that there is somebody who can pick your child up from school or a person who can make those important decisions. I know that a lot of organizations, including legal aid, are trying to work on and figure out ways we can assist or give more guidance around preparing for these instances. So I guess I would say stay tuned for those. And then lastly, I know I just mentioned that if you are fearful of returning to your home country, please let the official know that you are scared to return. I just wanted to give the basics really quick on asylum. So essentially, if you are scared that you will be harmed based on your race, your religion, your national origin, your political opinion, essentially you can ask them to not send you back and apply for asylum. And some of the important things, if you're applying for asylum, you must file within 1 year of arriving to the United States. There are exceptions to that. So I would consult an immigration attorney if you have questions about that. But if there are changed circumstances, let's say something has happened in your country since you've been here, such that it makes it you can't go back home or you're scared to go back home, those are certain things that could give you a reason for filing it after a year, after you have been here in the United States for a year. If you file it and you were not detained, your asylum application is adjudicated by an asylum officer in an asylum office. What that means is that it's not a court proceeding. There's not a government attorney asking questions. It is simply in an office, the officer is asking you basically your story about asylum. If it is defensive, let's say you are in proceedings or you are placed into proceeding, immigration court proceedings, your asylum case would be defensive, and so you would have to present it before an immigration judge. In those instances, presenting from the judge, it is an adversarial setting. You would have a government attorney also asking questions and really looking at it as well. Once you have, if you are granted asylum, then after having asylum for just 1 year, you are eligible to apply for a green card. I will say, just caveat, there's much more that goes into this. I highly recommend that if you guys do want to apply for asylum, please reach out to immigration lawyer. We have a lot of resources on our website regarding Know Your Rights materials, preparing for raids, both in English and in Spanish. So I encourage you to reach out to us, reach out to other organizations, look at our website, and I'm sure that we will be out in the community probably several times during this administration, kind of working on these Know Your Rights. So, all right, so that is that. I will try to do this very quickly in Spanish. Let's see. So, hola. Me llamo Nicole, yo soy la subdirectora del Departamento de Migración de la Organización de Ayuda Legal, de Sociedad de Ayuda Legal de Nueva York. Somos una organización que provee servicios legales a todos los ciudadanos de Nueva York. Ciudadanos en el sentido que vive aquí en Nueva York, no importa el estatus migratorio. Estamos aquí, o estoy aquí hoy para hablar sobre inmigración y eso, las deportaciones, esto de la detención que hemos visto que está pasando ahorita en nuestra comunidad. Entonces, primero quería explicar que inmigración te puede buscar en donde sea, puede buscarte, o sea, te puede encontrar en las fronteras cuando uno está entrando al país, te puede agarrar ahí y detener. Si tú tienes que ir a migración a hacer como unos check-ins, quizás tiene un bracelet y tienes que ir a cada cierto tiempo para hablar con ellos. Si ellos deciden que usted en ese tiempo es una prioridad, ellos te pueden detener. También eso puede pasar en tu juicio de inmigración. Ellos determinan que usted es una prioridad y de ahí ellos te pueden detener. También si tiene una historia criminal, si has sido arrestado en el pasado, no importa que todavía sigues encarcelado o si estás fuera y ya terminaste todo el caso. Inmigración, tan pronto que ellos, que ellos se enteran de la historia criminal, ellos te pueden detener. No significa que sí lo van a hacer en ninguna de esas situaciones, pero ellos lo pueden hacer. Entonces, ¿qué pasa cuando ellos te detienen? Si no estás en corte de migración, ellos te ponen en corte de migración. Ya comienzan los procedimientos de deportación. Si tú estás detenido, entonces todos los procedimientos serán mientras que estás detenido frente a un juez en el cárcel, o si la cárcel. En ese entonces, la diferencia entre los procedimientos de deportación, si uno está detenido o si uno no está detenido, es que los casos detenidos van mucho más rápido y obviamente uno está detenido mientras que ellos están peleando su caso. Pero como sea, si te agarran migración, vas a llegar a corte de migración. Si ya estás en corte, si ya antes de que ellos tuvieran, estabas en corte, ellos nada más van a trasladar el caso desde la corte donde estabas hasta la corte donde estás detenido. Si ya tiene orden de deportación, que sea que nunca llegaste a tu juicio o quizás tuviste el juicio y ya perdiste el caso, ellos te pueden deportar inmediatamente. Pero si tú tienes miedo a regresar a tu país, es muy importante que tú le explicas al oficial de inmigración que tú tienes el miedo. Y ellos te pueden, el procedimiento de como asilo, pero tú tienes que decirles así que tú tienes miedo a regresar a tu país. Es importante saber que ellos no te tienen que detener por donde vives. Estando ciudadano de Nueva York o viviendo aquí en Nueva York, no significa que ellos te van a detener aquí en Nueva York, ni en ningún estado cerca de Nueva York. Como inmigración es una cosa federal, eso quiere decir que ellos te pueden detener donde ellos tienen espacio. Mayormente las personas que viven aquí en Nueva York están detenidos en Moshannon Valley, que queda en Pensilvania, o en Orange County, que queda norte en el Hudson Valley. Pero yo he escuchado o hemos escuchado que ellos están construyendo otros prisons, pero yo no sé exactamente en qué está eso. Entonces, por ahorita, esos son los dos lugares donde hemos visto que la mayoría de personas de Nueva York están detenidos. Si tiene que buscar a alguien que ha sido detenido, esa es la dirección de internet o el sitio de internet donde tú puedes buscar. Hay que darle un día o 2 días porque a veces toma un poco de tiempo a procesar, a poner a la persona en el sistema. Pero una vez que ellos estén en el sistema, tú puedes buscarles a través de su nombre y el país o su número de registro de inmigrante, que están todos los papeles de inmigración, comienza con la letra A y tiene 9 números detrás de eso. Pero con esa información tú puedes encontrar tu familiar o la persona que estás buscando y te puede explicar dónde están y en qué situación están. Pero es muy importante que te acuerdes que si te detiene, no tiene derecho de quedarse callado, no tienes que decir nada, no tienes que contestar ninguna pregunta, no tienes que firmar ningún documento, aunque ellos te digan que soy oficial de inmigración, tienes que seguir hacer lo que te diga. No es cierto. Ni siquiera tienes que dejarles entrar a tu casa mientras que ellos no tienen un orden judicial. Tiene que ser oficial, como un orden de la corte del juicio diciendo que ellos tienen el permiso de entrar a tu casa. Sin eso, no tienes que dejarles entrar. Si es que tienes algún tipo de estatus, puede ser a su favor que tú le muestres ese documento, porque puede prevenir o puede ayudarte de que ellos no detienen o no te deportan. No podemos asegurar que eso es cierto, pero es más probable que tú le muestres o puede ser a su favor que muestres, por decir, si tú eres residente, obviamente presentando tu green card, muestra que tú tienes derecho a estar aquí. Algunos estatus, si tienes TPS, si tienes aplicación pendiente, es importante que cargues esos documentos contigo para que ellos pueden ver que tienes algo, ya estás en proceso de algo o ya tienes algún tipo de estatus, aunque no sea un estatus permanente. Si has estado aquí por menos de 2 años, menos de 2 años, puede ser importante también que cargue contigo documentos probando que tú has estado aquí por esos 2 años. Porque sin esas pruebas de lo que ellos están diciendo ahorita, es que una persona puede ser deportado así de expedited, se llama expedited removal. Entonces es un proceso diferente en lo cual dice que mientras que tú tienes menos de 2 años de estando aquí, ellos te pueden mandar sin pasar por el proceso del juez de inmigración en la corte en esos procedimientos. Importante que no cargues documentos contigo que son falsos porque eso te puede perjudicar más. Tampoco lleves documentos contigo de tu país o otro país porque eso te puede ayudar a la inmigración a tomar decisiones en tu nacionalidad. Pero acuérdate, si tú estás hablando, si tienes un abogado o estás trabajando con un abogado, carga su tarjeta o acuérdese del número de teléfono de ellos o alguna organización con quien estás trabajando, porque esa persona te puede ayudar en esa situación. También tú puedes consultar al consulado si es que estás arrestado. Y lo último, obviamente planificando por tus hijos en caso de que seas deportado o seas detenido. Esas cosas, solo para prepararte en caso de esas cosas pasan, puede hacerte sentir mejor, ¿no? Que tu hijo va a estar cuidado. Por ejemplo, si tú piensas que tu hijo puede Entonces, tú vas a mandar a tu hijo a tu país contigo, quizás es importante que ellos tengan un pasaporte, algunos documentos, por decir, si de la escuela, el formulario de emergencia, no, planificar quién es la persona que lo va a recoger la escuela, a tomar esas decisiones para tu hijo. Hay muchas organizaciones que están trabajando ahorita para preparar información sobre cómo hacer esos procedimientos. Entonces, vamos a estar en comunicación con la comunidad sobre esas cosas también. Y eso por lo último, como había dicho, uno puede aplicar por asilo si es que tiene miedo a regresar a tu país. Rápidamente quería darte como lo más rápido de lo que es asilo. Si tú tienes miedo que alguien te va a hacer daño basado en tu raza, tu religión, tu origen nacional, tu opinión política, o que tú perteneces a algún grupo social, eh, tú puedes pedir que ellos no te manden para atrás a tu país. Esa aplicación normalmente lo tiene que recibir inmigración dentro de un año de tú llegar aquí a Estados Unidos. Si no estás en proceso de migración, eso lo haces en frente a una persona en una oficina, no está frente a un juez, con otro, con el gobierno, con el abogado del gobierno también haciéndote preguntas. Pero si estás detenido, así será el proceso de aplicar el asilo. Y después de si ganas tu caso de asilo, después de un año, tú puedes aplicar por la residencia. Eso obviamente es muy corto y hay muchas más consideraciones para un caso de asilo. Yo le recomiendo y sigo diciendo que hables con un abogado de inmigración si piensas que puede que calificas por asilo, o quieres ver otros tipos de formas de beneficio que uno puede calificar. Bueno, ya, y cualquier cosa, si nosotros aquí en Legal Aid, si tú buscas en nuestra website, hay muchos otros recursos sobre tus derechos en esos tiempos. Bueno, y eso es todo. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Nicole, for an amazing presentation and amazing and very necessary information. And I just kindly ask if you don't mind just dropping the website in the chat for our community to know how they can contact you. And also just to answer a couple of questions, yes, we will be dropping a document with the information for the elected offices as well as for the organizations providing the legal service assistance. And we do plan on having the recording for this available on the Member of Congress's YouTube page. We will have more for that, and it should be available as of tomorrow. Next, I would like to make an introduction for our colleague who helped us bring all of these organizations and electeds together. Please, a round of electronic applause for Miss Marielle Ali from Community Board 12. Marielle.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Louis, and a big thank you to you as well, and all of the community partners that are joining us here this evening. My name is Marielle Ali, and I have the pleasure of serving as the chair of the Housing and Human Services Committee for Community Board 12. Just a little bit about ourselves. In addition to all of the resources that you've heard from our elected officials, as well as some of the other resources from our community organizations, Community Board 12 is open to the public. It truly is a community board. And so just a reminder that our Housing and Human Services Committee, we meet the first Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. And our general meetings are usually the last Tuesday of every month at 6:30 p.m. We truly want to see members of the community out. And again, we are here to serve as a resource. Buenas tardes y buenas noches a todos. Muchas gracias por tenerme aquí. Mi nombre es Mariel y yo soy la presidenta del Comité de Vivienda y Servicios Humanos en la Junta Comunitaria 12, que sirve y da servicios en Washington Heights y en Inwood. Nosotros tenemos reuniones el primer jueves de todos los meses, comenzando a las 7 de la noche, y estas reuniones sirven como otro recurso para ustedes, para la comunidad, para venir, hacer preguntas, a saber más sobre lo que está pasando. Y en realidad nos gustaría que más gente de la comunidad también participen en esas reuniones. También tenemos una reunión el último martes de todos los meses, y esa reunión es a las 6:30 de la noche. De nuevo, abierto para todos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mario. Glad to have you here and that you can be a part as well. The next speaker for tonight's event will be Mr. Nils Kinwani from African Communities United. Nils, take it away.
Thank you so much, Luis, and it's African communities together. um, thank you. I wish I could speak both in English and Spanish, but I am limited here, so I'll only speak in English. So I will be speaking today about visa overstays. So a little bit of background information or context. There are two ways through in which people enter the US, right? So the first way people, or the one way people enter, people would enter as immigrants. And these are usually people with, people entering with permanent status. So this includes green card holders, or people entering as refugees. So these people have permanent status and have a permanent stay in the US, right? And then the second way that people enter in the US is through a non-immigrant visa, right? And these people are have limited time in the US. And these people are so under this category. You have people entering with visitor visa, people entering with student visa, and sometimes people entering as non-immigrant worker, people with H-1B status, right? So under the first category of people with permanent status, green card holders and refugees, they are in the US on a permanent stay. And then the people in the second category, the non-immigrant visas category, they have limited stay in the US, right? So these people will have a document. They will be issued a document called an I-94, right? And this document controls, not only controls the status, but also determines how long they get to stay in the US. And this document was previously, issued physically, but now you can pull it up online. So if you go to CBP, the Customs and Border Patrol website, and let me share my screen so you can see it, but I'll also put the link in the chat. So if you go, I hope you can see my screen. So if you go on this website and you click Get Most Recent I-94, you need to acknowledge here, and here, if you enter your information here, so essentially your name, date of birth, country of citizenship, document number here, include your passport number. So if you enter your information here, you should be able, and you enter, if you entered on a non-immigrant visa, and you enter the US on a non-immigrant visa, you should be able to see your I-94 on this website. You enter information. Sometimes there is system malfunction where you cannot pull your I-94 here, but in most instances you should be able to. And then so this document will show your status, and most importantly your the expiration date of your status, right? So how long do you get to stay in the US? So it's a very important document, and if you don't have it, there are ways you can request this doc. If you can't pull it up online, there are ways you can contact Customs and Border Patrol to ask them to send it to you. But it's important if you are under a non-immigrant visa, it's important for you to have your I-94, right? I'll stop sharing. So now, visa overstays happen when obviously you overstay your visa. You overstay, you stay in the US beyond your expiration date, right? And then so um, one one caveat here is for people those who enter as international students, right? So for those who enter as international student, instead of having an expiration date, the I-94 will be marked as or the expiration date will be marked as DS, duration of status. It simply means that as long as you are maintaining your status or meeting the requirement of your status, and then you are considered within your period of stay, essentially. So for international students, it's usually the biggest requirement is usually maintaining a full course of classes and being a full-time student, essentially. So as long as you are meeting those requirements, then you should be considered as you should be considered in status and during within your period of authorized stay in the US. So it's important to have an I-94. Now, if you overstay your visa, of course, you're in the US past your expiration date on your I-94, then one thing to note here is that before you go out of status, and being out of status means that you are essentially you don't have status in the US. Usually, for people with, let's say, visitor visa or other non-immigrant visa, you get a grace period. It's usually 60 days, right? Past that date, then you are considered out of status, right? And you might be a target for current enforcement actions, right? Because anybody who's not who's in a country without authorization, as this administration has mentioned, could be targeted for enforcement action. Now, what are your options? So if you are you've overstayed and you find yourself in the US without authorization, there are some options, right? Depending on your situation, and this is where it's important to work with an attorney. But I want to give folks here an overview, a big picture. The number of options include for people with mostly as a visit, if you enter as a visitor or an international student, you can apply to reinstate your visa, or in case of international student, you can apply to reinstate your F1. That's the visa for international students. You can apply to reinstate your visa, and then there you have to work with the school where you're applying. And for visitor, you can also apply to reinstate your status or extend your B1 or B2. That's the visa for visitor, for tourists, and you can apply to have that reinstated. It's a long process, and I would, if you want to pursue that process, it's indispensable to work with an attorney. So that's one option: reinstating your visa or changing. If you overstay, let's say, if you overstayed a F1 international student visa, and you can apply to change change to let's say non-immigrant worker visa, like a H-1B, but you need to work with an attorney in that process. Also, the biggest thing here is also the biggest factor to take into consideration is how long you stayed in without authorization in the country, because that could have an impact on any other options you choose to go with. And if you stay in the U.S. without authorization, then you start accruing what we call a unlawful presence. And depending on the amount of time that you spend in the U.S., without authorization, accruing unlawful presence, and you might be ineligible to change or even change status in the U.S. And so that's one way you can pursue a non-immigrant visa in the U.S. And number two, you can pursue an immigrant visa. And again, immigrant visa here refers to a green card. And that process is called an adjustment of status. So there are three ways you can get to an immigrant visa. Two main ways, major ways, right? First one is through a family petition. So if you have a family member, ideally a U.S. citizen, a green card or a U.S. citizen who can petition for you or sponsor you for green card. The second way is through employment. You can get immigrant visa permanent status through employment, but you have your employer must be willing to go through that process with you and sponsor you for a green card. And the third way and last way under this big bucket is a special visa. These include people who have been victims of crime, victims of violence, and then there are also there's also a way to pursue permanent residence if you are under the if you've experienced if you've been a victim of crime, a victim of violence, and again, I will emphasize here that it's important to work with an attorney if you wanna pursue these options. I will stop there. I'm assuming that there might be questions, but I'm happy to answer any questions, and I'll provide my contact information if people have questions and would like to discuss further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nils, for that wonderful information and presentation. If you don't mind, please put your contact info in the Q&A. We also have another partner from CUNY Citizenship Now who's assisting us with the Q&A. I'm just going to take a moment to introduce them. They are Miss Alicia Arana Esquire. Alicia, you just want to take a moment to say hi to the camera?
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Rana, and I am an immigration attorney. I am a staff attorney with the City Council project at CUNY Citizenship Now. I am happy to be here this evening, and I am sharing contact information and links on the Q&A for individuals who are requesting either consultations with attorneys, or they have questions that I think they should speak with an attorney about. Me llamo Alicia Arana, soy abogada de inmigración y trabajo con CUNY Citizenship Now. Somos una organización que presta servicios gratuitos a la comunidad. Estamos vinculados con los concejales de la ciudad de Nueva York, prestando consultas y asistencias en ciertas aplicaciones gratuitamente a la comunidad. En la sección de las preguntas estoy proveyendo números y contactos de organizaciones que pueden asistirlos con sus temas de inmigración.
Thank you very much, Alicia. So we're trying to do the best we can to make a thorough and comprehensive program that can answer all of your questions while providing those resources in real time. We'll also be sharing the information for the organizations and the elected officials towards the end of the program. And after the speakers are done, we'll still leave this up so that those that need the information or just got on later can still be able to receive the very helpful and necessary information. The next presenter will be Ms. Melissa Machuca from Immigrant Arc. Melissa, take it away.
Thank you, Louis. I'm going to also share my screen. I created a PowerPoint. And let's see, is my screen visible? Sorry, I don't know. Is it visible?
It is.
Okay, perfect. Sorry. Okay, so again, my name is Melissa Machuca. I am from the organization Immigrant Arc. Buenas tardes a todos. De nuevo, mi nombre es Melissa Machuca. Soy de parte de la organización Arco Inmigrante. Entonces, ¿quiénes somos nosotros? Voy a hablar en inglés primero, después en español. So we are a network of 80 legal service providers. We're a nonprofit that just partner with organizations to try to reach out to the immigrant community. We don't take cases, but we do provide legal information and legal referrals if necessary. De nuevo, somos una red de varias organizaciones que principalmente ayuda a la comunidad inmigrante y nosotros, aunque no tomamos casos, nosotros tratamos de dar recursos e información y hasta también referir con abogados que pueden ayudar en su caso. Entonces yo voy a hablar de TPS. Entonces, in English, for those who don't know what TPS is, it's a program that provides temporary relief for people that are trying to, that are from designated countries. And there's a list of designated countries that we'll get to in a bit. And basically, it's just preventing them from being deported for that small time period. And it's usually granted for 18 months. And it allows people to also apply for a work permit. But we'll get into that in a bit. Entonces, el programa TPS es una programa comunitaria que tiene, que es para una lista de ciertos países en donde le dan un alivio de migración temporal. Normalmente está otorgada por 18 meses y solamente este programa es para prevenirlos a enfrentar deportación. También hay otros alivios de migración, por ejemplo, puede aplicar para la permiso de trabajo durante este tiempo, pero ahorita en unos minutos voy a hablar sobre eso. So why does a country get TPS? It's mainly because of certain reasons, whether it be armed conflict, natural disasters, epidemics, or other extraordinary conditions. And that's basically for certain countries, it's very, how would I say it? It's like very precise into like as to how they might be applicable for TPS. Entonces, para los países que reciben TPS, normalmente por condiciones extraordinarias, por ejemplo, conflictos armados en curso, desastres naturales, epidemias o otras emergencias que está pasando en su país. Am, pero de nuevo, cada país pues tiene ciertas condiciones y por eso es que uno tiene que ver si cualifica o no para TPS y eso está en la lista de los países que ahorita vamos a ver en unos minutos. Um, so the eligibility requirements, the designated country has to be on the list. So it's not habitable to be in that country, which is why they're granted TPS. They must enter the U.S. at a specific date that is set by DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, and register before the deadline is set by DHS. And that's normally in the USCIS website. I can also put the link on the chat so that way people are able to access that. And it is important to note that it does not lead to permanent residency, but it does provide temporary relief for deportation. Entonces, para clarificar de TPS, entonces ciertos países que están en la lista que son designados para TPS, solamente esas personas pueden calificar para TPS. También tienen que ingresar a los Estados Unidos antes de la fecha que está especificada en el sitio del Departamento de Homeland Security. Y también voy a poner ese link en el chat para que uno pueda ver esas fechas, cómo los puede conseguir esa información. También la persona se tiene que registrar antes de la fecha límite establecida de DHS y que de nuevo está en el sitio donde voy a compartir en el chat. Es muy importante notar de que pues con TPS no le va a garantizar así que pueda aplicar para la residencia permanente, pero es un alivio temporal para deportación. So this is a list of the countries that are currently designated for TPS. It's currently updated. I know that on the news, we have just heard about Venezuela. So still, although the government is trying to change it's trying to change the program itself. It's still active and they're still receiving applications. Entonces, esta es la lista de los países que ahorita están designados para TPS. Si han visto las noticias, ya escuchamos de lo que va a pasar con Venezuela, pero aún actualmente están recibiendo aplicaciones para TPS. Entonces, aunque ellos quieren cambiar la programa, aún están recibiendo las aplicaciones. Y esta es la aplicación. This is the application for TPS and basically the steps of like submitting, very brief, and also just like the cost of how much it will be. Este es el formulario para TPS y los pasos, pero es bien breve, pero también explica cuánto cuesta para someter la aplicación. Y yo puedo compartir esta información para que se pueda compartir con los demás. I could share the slides as well so that it could be shared with the community. So TPS, there's maintenance and renewal process. So since it's typically granted for 18 months, DHS will decide whether or not to extend it. And the decision has to be made within 60 days. If it's not made before like the TPS period, then an automatic extension occurs. And also to maintain TPS, the beneficiaries must re-register on time and meet eligibility requirements continuously. Failure to re-register without good cause could result in the loss of TPS status. Entonces, la programa de TPS requisita mantenimiento y renovación. Entonces, como está otorgada por 18 meses, antes de que se expire, el Departamento de Homeland Security va a decidir si extender la designación para el país. Si no toma una decisión antes de 60 días, entonces el periodo de TPS se finaliza. Se podría hacer una extensión automáticamente y permite a la persona seguir quedándose en los Estados Unidos y trabajar. Y para mantener el TPS, los beneficiarios deben de reinscribirse a tiempo y también cumplir con los requisitos de elegibilidad de manera continua. Y si no se reinscribe sin una causa justificada, podría resultar en la pérdida del estatus de TPS. So although TPS, it sounds straightforward, but it isn't. It's a very complicated application, and it's something that we really urge people to try to seek legal assistance and connect with an attorney to see how they can apply for it or reapply for it, especially for those that are holding TPS at the moment. It's very important to make sure you don't miss that deadline and don't miss that TPS status. And because of the new administration, we are receiving changes every single day regards to just immigration relief overall, which is why we urge to talk to an attorney. And we have a website in our Immigrant Arc website. It's separate, but it's filled with basically resources, referrals, and I just linked it. I will link it also in the chat. And the screenshot shows like where one can seek immigration help. There's immigration help for nonprofits, pro se, even private attorneys. And I will link how to do that as well. Entonces, los próximos pasos, aunque TPS se escucha que es algo directo, es muy difícil a navegarlo solo, especialmente con todos estos cambios de la administración actual. Por eso es que nosotros recomendamos urgentemente de que trate de conectarse con un abogado para ver si puede aplicar para el TPS a tiempo o renovar su TPS para que no pierda ese tiempo que es muy importante para que se pueda quedar en Estados Unidos. Entonces, nosotros tenemos un sitio donde tenemos recursos y también referidos para ayuda de inmigración. Yo voy a ponerlo en el chat y ahí mismo puede uno conectarse con unos abogados que son gratuitos, de bajo costo o también que son abogados privados. I just want to also mention that during the 18-month period, you are also eligible to try to apply for any other form of relief, such as asylum, if you can qualify for asylum. That's why it's very important to speak with an attorney to see any other options that you might have to apply. Y algo que se me olvidó de mencionar es que durante esos meses, de 18 meses, del tiempo de la visa, perdón, de la TPS, ahí es donde usted pues especialmente debería de hablar con un abogado para ver si cualifica para otro alivio de inmigración. Por ejemplo, si cualifica para asilo, debería de aplicar para eso, pero con una ayuda de un abogado para que vea a ver si cualifica para otras aplicaciones de alivio inmigratorio. Y ya, eso es todo. Yo pondré en el chat también mi información por si tiene algunas preguntas y tratar de conectarlo con un abogado que pueda ayudarle en su caso. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for an incredibly informative presentation. We do appreciate your efforts. And next we have Sharon Toussaint, an immigration attorney with over 20 years of experience. Sharon, take it away.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Luis. My name is Sharon Toussaint. I've been an attorney for over 25 years, and I've been involved with the immigration community for that long. What I wanted to talk to you about is specifically for lawful permanent residents. So you've gone through the process, you've adjusted in the United States, or you immigrated from your home country and now in the United States as a permanent resident. And once you're a permanent resident, I wanted to talk to you about if you were to all of a sudden get arrested. Let's say you had convictions prior to becoming a permanent resident, or while you're a permanent resident, you get arrested, get convicted, and now you have a conviction as a permanent resident. How does that affect your immigration status? Well, as the consequences of having a criminal conviction as a permanent resident, it can be detrimental depending on the crime for which you were convicted for. A lot of people, or specifically permanent residents, they think that if they were convicted or had a criminal history going back 20 years or even 30 years, then they're safe. Well, that's not correct. Any conviction could make you subject to immigration consequences. And the consequences could be deportation. It could be not being able to naturalize or become a United States citizen, or even if you were to able to travel outside of the United States, trying to come back in with a criminal conviction can make you inadmissible to enter the United States. So let's go through what deportation, or specifically removal. You're in the United States, you have a conviction, and you might be facing removal proceedings. What can trigger removal proceedings is if you are convicted of a drug offense, if you were convicted of some type of assault, conviction for murder, conviction for rape, anything that has to do with an aggravated felon, you can face deportation. And those convictions could happen 5 years ago, could happen 10 years ago, but you're still going to face deportation. So depending on how serious your conviction is where you will be facing deportation, or specifically if you're in the United States, removal proceedings. If you are deemed an aggravated felon, then yes, you are definitely can be removed from the United States without even having to defend yourself, really. Minor crimes such as, let's see, disorderly conduct, petty larceny, those kinds of things, you might be able to get away with it and not be placed in proceedings. But again, I always, before you do anything, always check with an attorney to see what is your consequence for any criminal conviction. You have a conviction, you travel outside of the United States, you're trying to get back in. You come back into the United States, you get fingerprinted, and they stop you. You have to go in a room and you speak to one of those officers, and they go through your criminal record with you. And they're telling you that you may be deported from the United States because of your conviction. Normally, what would happen is that you're not going to be deported that time. They will, what is called, parole you into the United States, or let you re-enter the United States for the purposes of possibly putting you in proceedings. So they will give you a little card to temporarily parole you in the United States, give you a date to go see an officer, go see an ICE officer, where then they will determine whether they're going to start proceedings against you. So that's one way how criminal convictions can affect permanent residence. Another way is your citizenship. So you go through, you get, you have a criminal conviction, you're a permanent resident, you now want to apply for United States citizenship. However, depending on what kind of conviction that you have, you may not be able to apply for citizenship because, again, if you were to apply for citizenship, now all of a sudden your criminal past may prevent you from becoming a citizen, because immigration will then determine that you are going to be placed in removal proceedings. So whenever if you have a criminal conviction, please make sure that you seek the counsel of an immigration attorney who will be able to walk you through what kind of effect or what kind of consequences that your conviction will have when it comes to immigration. Now, there are There are some people who have convictions. They've as permanent residents. They may have even gone through the deportation process or the removal process, and they got a waiver, and that's great. So now you have a waiver that those convictions may not put you in deportation proceedings again, but you may be barred from ever applying for naturalization because those convictions will prevent you from becoming US citizens. So convictions have consequences. Sometimes you may not think that whatever conviction that you had is major, but for immigration purposes, it can be. Most states, like New York State, doesn't recognize or think it's a crime for disorderly conduct. Disorderly conduct under New York State is not a crime. But on the federal level, it might be, because on the federal level, that conviction could still lead to 15 days a sentence. So some crimes that may not be for the state purposes can have federal consequences as well. So you always got to be mindful of your conviction. If you are deciding that you want to apply for any type of immigration benefit, always talk to an attorney to make sure that you are on the right path. You never want to file for benefits, whether you want to sponsor someone or whether you want to apply for citizenship, and then get caught up that you are unable to apply because of the consequences of something that may have happened even 20, 30 years ago. There are some convictions that unfortunately you may not be able to stop the removal process. And one of that is drug convictions, drug trafficking, sex trafficking. Those are crimes that if you have a conviction, you may not be able to stop the removal process, and you may be ordered deported from the United States. So be mindful of your convictions and make sure that you do seek some counsel to go over the things that will prevent you from maintaining your lawful permanent resident. Okay. And the one thing that I want to say is, when you get stopped, please make sure that you, like one of the other speakers said, have your green card on you in a copy. Do not carry your actual card, but make a copy of your card and keep a copy of the card. Because once you are detained or you get stopped by ICE and they take the card, you may not get the card back. The same as if you have a passport. Do not have your actual foreign passport with you. Do not carry anything that will show what country you're from, because that will make it easier for them to try to deport you or get removal documents to try to deport you. But keep certain documents on you. Keep an emergency card on you with a name of an attorney, anyone that you could contact, so that that person know where you are at all times. And again, you don't have to answer any questions. You have the right to remain silent. Make sure that you use that right to remain silent. For those people who do not speak English, try to have someone who could translate, the process for you and with you, so that you know what is going on. But if you can, keep a little card with you that you could even show the ICE officer, this is the information, this is my emergency contact, to get in touch with them on your behalf. Okay, I will put in my chat my name and my number. Please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm always able to consult with anyone to provide them with as much information as I can. And if I can't, to refer you to someone else who can assist you. I will add that to the chat. And if you have any questions, please reach out and I'll try to answer as best as I can. Thank you, Louis.
Thank you, Ms. Hussam, for joining us this evening. And I just want to give a moment to introduce another one of our very own electeds here in Manhattan Community Board 12, Senator Robert Jackson.
Well, thank you for putting this together on behalf of the people that are out there that are looking for a guide. Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to thank you for putting this together. They told me that this was happening and I wanted to come in, even though I got in at 6:30, but it's still going on. And as an elected public official in all of Northern Manhattan, from Washington Heights, Inwood, Marble Hill, and 1/3 of my district is in the Northwest Bronx. So just like any of us, we're just trying to make sure that the people that are vulnerable are taking precautions and documenting, as Sharon Toussaint had indicated, as far as original documents versus copies, and try to learn as much as you can, keep a low profile, and just go about your business with you and your family. Just stay close to everyone, know that you may be out there, and so making sure you have phone numbers of people that are here to assist you and to stand up for you is extremely important. So thank you for putting this together. I appreciate that. I represent the 31st Senatorial District, which is Northern Manhattan and the Northwest Bronx. Thank you. Thank you, Luis.
Thank you for joining us this evening, Senator Jackson. And we also just want to let our members of the community know that if they would like one of those physical Know Your Rights cards, you can visit one of the Member of Congress's offices. We have one office at 163 West 125th Street, Suite 508, New York, New York, 10027, right here in Harlem. We have another office located at 720 West 181st Street, New York, New York, zip code 133. If you like, you can also go to our website at espaillat.house.gov/issues/know your rights. Once again, the website is Espaillat, espaillat.house.gov/issues/know your rights. If you go to our website, all you have to do is click under issues and you will see in the drop down, the last option will be know your rights. And also feel free to reach out via email or in person at one of our offices so we can provide the information to you. If you have someone that you would like this information to be provided to as well, feel free to provide a visit to our office. And with that being said, the next speaker will be Miss Amelia Scordis from Cabrini Immigrant Services.
Hi there. Thank you so much. Again, my name is Amelia Sidoris. I run the Justice for Immigrants program at Cabrini Immigrant Services. I'm going to present first on some updates about DACA, because we do work with DACA recipients at Cabrini, and then I'm going to go into the services that we offer. Primero lo voy a hacer en inglés, pero después en español. Okay. As of January 17th, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled a significant portion of the Biden administration's DACA rule was unlawful. Despite this, current DACA recipients nationwide can continue to renew their status while legal proceedings are ongoing. However, first-time DACA applications are not being processed at this time. So some advice from our office is that if you have DACA and you're eligible to renew, it's advisable to do so promptly. And while initial applications are not currently being processed, you may still file one, but it's important to consult with an immigration attorney to determine if this is the right course of action for you. We say to avoid using advanced parole for travel unless it's an emergency. And if it is an emergency, try to plan your travel between a Friday and a Sunday, as new orders affecting re-entry are less likely to occur during weekends, which would reduce the risk of being stranded outside of the US. And then our last piece of advice is to maintain copies of all DACA-related documents, not just your work authorization, to ensure that you have comprehensive records of your status. And then just to go a bit into the overviews of the services that we offer at Cabrini, we are an immigration legal service provider in the Washington Heights neighborhood. We're located right next to the Cabrini Shrine on Fort Washington Avenue. We offer 4 different types of programs. So the first, we offer immigration legal services. These are free and low-cost consultations and legal assistance available in both English and Spanish. And these services include help with naturalization, family petitions, adjustment of status, document replacement, DACA, temporary protected status, U visas, and asylum applications, to name a few. Unfortunately, right now, we do have a large amount of people who are needing our services. So we do have a wait list for our legal services, but we're happy to help to refer to other organizations nearby who may not have a wait list. We also offer social services. So we provide case management to assist with healthcare, housing, food, public benefits, employment, education, and emotional support. We also offer supportive counseling, scholarships for immigrant students who are pursuing higher education, and then we organize many activities and events for families. We have a food pantry that's located in the Church of the Good Shepherd up in Inwood. And our distributions are open Saturday mornings from 7:30 to 9. You can just go and they will help you to register there, but you do need to bring an ID and a proof of residency. And then we have our Justice for Immigrants program, which aims to build power and leadership within the local immigrant community through education, civic participation, and community building. Our members engage in Know Your Rights workshops, in bi-weekly meetings, in advocacy campaigns, and in leadership development trainings. Just this week, we will have 3 Know Your Rights trainings. We are offering a labor rights training tomorrow. Later in the month, we are offering a family preparedness workshop. I will put my number in the chat if anyone is interested in joining us. You can also contact our office to make appointments at 212-791-4590, extension 100, or you can visit our website, cis-nyc.org. But again, I will put that information in the chat. Ahora lo voy a hacer en español. Primero quiero decir algunas actualizaciones sobre el programa DACA. A partir del 17 de enero, el Tribunal de Apelaciones del Quinto Circuito declaró ilegales partes significativas de DACA. A pesar de eso, los beneficiarios actuales de DACA en todo el país pueden continuar renovando su estatus mientras continúan los procedimientos legales. En ese momento no están procesando solicitudes iniciales de DACA. Y unos consejos de nuestra oficina son, si una persona tiene DACA y es elegible para renovarlo, es recomendable hacerlo lo antes posible. Y aunque actualmente no se están procesando solicitudes iniciales, aún puedes presentar una. Sin embargo, es importante consultar a un abogado de inmigración para determinar si esta es la mejor opción para ti. Y si es posible, evita usar el permiso anticipado o advance parole para viajar a menos que sea una emergencia. Y si es necesario viajar, hazlo entre un viernes y un domingo, ya que es menos probable que emita nuevas órdenes que afectan la reentrada durante los fines de semana. Y conserva todas las copias de todos los documentos relacionados con DACA, no solo tu estatus, no solo tu permiso de trabajo, para asegurarte de contar con un registro completo de tu estatus. Y ahora sobre los servicios que ofrecemos en Cabrini. Somos una oficina de inmigración en Washington Heights. Estamos ubicados al lado de la iglesia de Cabrini Shrine. Ofrecemos servicios legales de inmigración. Esos son consultas y asistencia legal en inglés y en español de manera gratuita o a bajo costo. Nuestros servicios incluyen ayuda con naturalización, peticiones familiares, ajuste de estatus, reemplazo de documentos, DACA, estatus de protección temporal, visa U y solicitudes de asilo. Lamentablemente ahora tenemos una lista de espera, pero estamos felices de ayudar a buscar otras agencias que ofrecen servicios legales. También tenemos servicios sociales en donde brindamos apoyo en la gestión de casos relacionados con salud, vivienda, beneficios públicos, empleos, educación y apoyo emocional. Y también ofrecemos asesoramiento, becas para estudiantes inmigrantes que buscan educación superior y también organizamos actividades y eventos para familias. Tenemos una despensa de comida que está ubicado en Inwood, en la iglesia de Buen Pastor. Está abierto los sábados en la mañana de 7:30 hasta 9. Y para registrar, solo necesita llegar a la iglesia con un tipo de identificación y una carta de residencia. Y eso está abierto los días sábado. También tenemos un programa Justicia para Inmigrantes que busca fortalecer el liderazgo y el poder de la comunidad inmigrante local a través de la educación, la participación cívica y el trabajo comunitario. Y nuestros miembros participan en talleres como Conozca sus derechos, reuniones cada semana, campañas de defensa y entrenamientos de liderazgo. Mañana por Zoom tenemos un taller de derechos laborales y este mes también tenemos un taller cómo hacer un plan de emergencia para familias. Así que si están interesados en unirse a nuestros eventos, voy a poner mi contacto en el chat. Y también se puede hacer una cita llamando a 212-791-4590 extensión 100. Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amelia, for all that you guys do in Cabrini and all of the additional support and services that you provide to the community, especially in these trying times. It truly does take a village, and we all have to lean on each other. And the next speaker will be Mr. Derek Gomez from the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs to discuss the city status as a sanctuary city and other protections and provisions and assistance that is provided. Derek, thank you for being here.
Thank you, Louis. I'm going to start in Spanish, just switch it up. I know that a lot of the participants have been waiting. Buenas tardes, o ya buenas noches. Mi nombre es Derek Gómez. Soy el director adjunto de programas en MOEA, que es la oficina de la Alcaldía para Asuntos del Inmigrante. Entonces, sabemos que es un momento muy delicado, que han habido muchos cambios. Entendemos que hay mucho temor en la comunidad inmigrante, pero la gente debe seguir mandando a sus hijos a la escuela, llamando al 911 durante emergencias y yendo al hospital si necesita ayuda médica. Eso es para el bienestar de todo neoyorquino, sin importar su estado migratorio. Entonces, nuestro rol en MOEA es ofrecer recursos e información sobre las leyes federales, estatales y locales. Y por eso hemos actualizado mucho de nuestros recursos en nuestro sitio web, que es nyc.gov/immigrant. Lo pueden buscar en Google, lo pueden encontrar ahí. Nuestros recursos están traducidos en bastantes idiomas, incluyendo el español. Entonces, algunos de los recursos que tenemos actualizados y listos para ofrecer es conocer sus derechos con ICE, qué hacer si una persona querida es detenida por ICE y las leyes santuarios en Nueva York. Entonces, mis colegas de diferentes oficinas han ofrecido mucha información sobre los primeros dos, pero me gustaría ofrecer un poco sobre las leyes santuario. Entonces, lo que hacen las leyes santuario es que ponen límites en cómo y cuándo la ciudad puede colaborar con los agentes federales de inmigración. Entonces, es muy importante que eso no significa que las deportaciones no pasan en Nueva York. Las deportaciones han pasado bajo todos los presidentes, pero lo que hace es que ponen límites y esos límites son para brindar seguridad pública, debido proceso y confianza de la comunidad. Entonces, nosotros estamos trabajando con la alcaldía y el departamento legal de la alcaldía para enseñar a los empleados públicos sobre las leyes y cómo seguirlas, porque es muy importante tener esa línea muy clara de cuándo puede colaborar la ciudad con esos agentes. Y son casos muy limitados. Si quieren más información, pueden ir a nuestro sitio web, pero más que todo tiene que ver con si alguien es convicted, si declara a las cortes que alguien es culpable de ciertos delitos y son delitos muy serios. Y los delitos los pueden mirar en nuestro sitio web. So at this point, I'm going to switch over to Spanish. So here at Moya, we understand that there's a lot of fear among the immigrant community. We want people to know that they should continue to send their kids to school, call 911 during emergency, and seek medical care. And this is not just to protect the immigrant community, but to protect the health and safety of all New Yorkers. It's important that folks know that these services are available and continue to be available regardless of immigration status. So the office that I'm part of, the Mayor's Office of Immigrant Affairs, our role is to provide resources to immigrant communities and ensure that folks are well informed on current federal, state, and city laws. So right now we're going through a moment of a lot of change, especially at the federal level. So part of that, part of what Moya is doing is expanding our Know Your Rights workshops to provide New Yorkers with accurate, up-to-date information about any changes in the law. So part of what we've been doing as well is to ensure that there is information out in the community about what the laws are. So that includes know your rights with ICE, what to do if a family member or friend is detained by ICE, and then some information about the sanctuary laws in New York City. So I know that my colleagues have covered the first two pretty well. Thank you to the really fantastic groups that are working out in the field to ensure that the first two are well known. But I'm going to take a little bit of time to talk about the third one, the sanctuary policies. So the role of sanctuary policies is to impose limitations on the city's ability to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement. So I want to be very, very clear, and I'm sure people know, especially after the last few days, that these laws do not mean that no one in New York City gets detained and potentially deported. But what these laws do create is clear limits about when the city can collaborate with federal immigration enforcement. And these laws are really based on prioritizing public safety, due process, and trust and by the immigrant community. So I'm not going to go into too much detail. If you're interested in the details of these laws, you can check out the Moya website, which is nyc.gov/immigrants. But there's a clear set of um, convictions that if someone is convicted of certain crimes, at that point, the city may collaborate with ICE, but it is very limited circumstances, and these are very serious crimes. So if anyone wants to see this list, they can go on nyc.gov/immigrant. But Moya wants folks to know, just to repeat that initial message, that um, people should continue to send their kids to school and calling 911 during emergencies and seeking medical care at hospitals, including the New York City hospitals. We want folks to know that these services continue to be available regardless of immigration status and that they are really based on community needs. So thank you again, Luis, for inviting Moya to this really important convening. And thank you again to the advocates, the elected officials, everyone who's been on this call, as well as anyone who's been listening in for the last hour and 54 minutes. Thank you.
Hey, Thank you very much, Derek, for that important information. A lot of the members in today's conversation have been asking, and I appreciate all of the information that you provided to them. We also want to announce that we will be having an in-person event this Friday. It will be at 6 p.m. at Church of Encarnacion. That is 1920 St. Nicholas Avenue, New York, New York, zip code 133. Once again, we'll be having a Know Your Rights in-person town hall this Friday, January 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. The address is 1920 St. Nicholas Avenue, New York, New York, 133. And next, I have someone that I would like to introduce to you all. And for connectivity issues, it's much simpler this way. This is my colleague and the esteemed Miss Marissa Sanchez. She has experience having served 2 members of Congress over 20 years. Various administrations have come and gone, but Marissa Sanchez stays here having serviced the many constituents that have walked through the doors of New York's 13th Congressional District. Our senior advisor, Miss Sanchez. Miss Sanchez, I leave it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Adames. Hello, I am Maritza Sanchez. I am the Senior Advisor for Immigrant Affairs for our esteemed Congressman Adriano Espaillat. Our office offers many services, but the top topic is immigration. We have seen a lot of mean-spirited situations, especially this week. I have dealt with a lot of the DACA recipients. They are very scared. They want advice. I have also referred them to legal services. Our office also provides services where if you already have established an application with USCIS or the Department of State. If you need an expedite, of course, our office is here to assist in that matter also. We also provide Social Security, anything that's federal, Social Security, IRS, you name it, we do it. But again, we are here to always provide services to all our constituents. It doesn't matter, many times even outside of the district. So, of course, the congressman and all of the staffers here are quite concerned about the circumstances that's happening. And we are very busy, especially this week, that many constituents have walked in and asked for a lot of advice. And of course, we have to provide the resources that we can send them to, especially the migrants that came in through the border and that are either in supervision or they are about to have their first master hearing. So as Luis had mentioned, we are having a Know Your Rights Town Hall on Friday, January 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Church of Incarnation, 1920 St. Nicholas Avenue. And we also will have some speakers there and of course some other not-for-profit organizations that will be speaking to the public. I thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to all of you. Luis?
Thank you all for having joined us this evening. Now, as many of you have requested, we will be sharing a document with the contact information for the elected official offices that have joined us on this call. I understand many of you would also like to connect with the legal organizations that have been a part of tonight's event. So we will also be providing that information. Many of you have received it via the chat, the Q&A. However, for those of you that have not, we will also be providing the recording for tonight's event. It should be available on the Member of Congress's YouTube page as of tomorrow morning. And we plan to also provide more information via email, as well as in addition to our Know Your Right events in the upcoming days. I thank you all for having joined us and been a part of this session this evening. I will leave this conversation open for 10 minutes or maybe a little bit more time after, so you can all receive the information in the slide to be shared. Thank you all for having joined us this evening. Have a wonderful night and please stay safe.